Good. So now we are on YouTube. Hello YouTube. Hello world. Hello all presenters and of course all participants. And it's good that to see basically all of you back because I see there's quite some continuity in the participants, and I think this is a good sign. And so good also to hear your views and your perspectives and ideas also in this session on climate-friendly business mobility. And this is particularly also about implementing travel criteria for climate-friendly climate research, and what this all is we will hear later on from our presenter Manuel. But first of all, let me introduce so you know who's facilitator of this. So my name is Sebastian Helgenberger. I'm a PhD in socioeconomics working in Vienna at the Boku Center for Global Change and Sustainability. But much more, I'm very much here in my role as an advisor to the Austrian Ministry for Science and Research, because I'm also in the governing board of the Joint Programming Initiative JPI Climate, which is also one of the sponsors of this conference. And let me just tell you what we're doing there and why this is important also for this session. So those of you who already visited the introduction, the opening session, got to know about that. So JPI Climate is a European alliance of research funders. So institutions that are putting money on the table to fund research, and with a specific focus on climate research, and another specific focus to fund climate research in order to support society in tackling the challenges of climate change and responding accurately and in a sustainable manner. So therefore, also the credibility of research and the function of research as a role model to society is quite important. Therefore, we have developed or gave ourselves the sustainability principle, which is also to consider and to reduce the carbon footprint of our operations. In order to increase the societal credibility with our operations and activities, I mean, first of all, well, the meetings that we as an international institution consisting, as I said, of persons from 15 countries, lots of traveling, lot all over Europe to meet, but also this is true for the activities that we are funding, where we also are seeking to implement principles that reduce the carbon footprint of the research that we are funding there. And we're doing that, for example, in our this year's research call that has been opened in October on the topic of societal transformation in the face of climate change, which might also be interesting for some of you. It's on our website. And what we tried there is to include climate-friendly climate research criteria in the evaluation criteria. So the reviewers, when they look at the proposals, they will have a keen eye on this issue, how the proposals try to experiment with new innovative approaches to reduce the carbon footprint of the proposed research project, with what ideas they come up, but also in what way they use their existing resources that have been prepared by the climate-friendly climate research project and that are also presented at this conference. So this is like a real-world example. This is not just a theoretical issue, but we are really working on integrating these kind of criteria, and travel is a very, well, probably the most important issue into the research in the review process. Of course, without trying to impeding good research. This, of course, also an important issue that we know that international collaboration is important. So we have to organize this exchange, but not necessarily in physical meetings all the time. So this is what we're doing. This is also why we were particularly grateful that our presenter today, Manuel Binder, dedicated several months to work out a decision-making tool for climate-friendly research, climate-friendly travel, and which he will also present later on. And he also gave us some background knowledge on the impact of traveling, on the importance of traveling in research, and also the importance for the in the climate footprint. So this is what Manuel will tell us in his presentation, and that we'll also discuss during the session. So let me please briefly introduce Manuel. So Manuel has a master's degree in environmental and bioresource management, and this is what I just said. He wrote this fantastic master thesis on climate-friendly business mobility, which is so far only available in German, but many of the papers we are we have been working on in this climate-friendly climate research projects draw on the work of Manuel. So, and he's not only currently studying innovation technology management, but also, in case you look for a good, nice job, works at Green Jobs Austria. So if you want to come over to Austria, or beautiful Vienna, where I'm situated, have a chat with Manuel. Perhaps he can provide you with the right job. So that's all I will say in the beginning. I will do some moderation facilitating meanwhile, but now the floor goes to Manuel.
Thank you very much, Sebastian. Welcome from my side. As Sebastian told you, the topic of this session will be climate-friendly business mobility. I wrote my master thesis about this topic, and first of all, I would like to tell you why we are all doing this, give you a little background of this topic. We have a choice. This means that there are different means of transport that the passenger can choose from, and they all have different aspects, impacts on climate and climate change. So our choice can make a difference. The next topic will deal with the results and findings of my master thesis, my research. And after this, I will hear from you. What do you think about the assumptions that we made, the criteria that we found? Do you think they are the truth, or are there some things we might have to change? We can do something. This means that we also discussed in focus group what can be done to make traveling, especially business traveling, more climate friendly. And I will present you some findings of the focus group we made. Last but not least, we want you and your opinion to discuss on all the topics I will present you. But before we start, it's your turn for the first time today. There will be some more things that I want you to do. And the question I ask is, where did you spend your best business dinner? And I want you to use the chat function and type in, as seen on the slide, the meal you had and the city you were eating it. Now please use the chat. Maybe Sebastian will give a good example where he spent his best meal. There.
Okay, I'm typing.
Okay, Jacob, you ate steak and lobster in New York City. That sounds great. Bernhard in Salzburg. Okay. Eight-course menu. Ooh, that sounds great too. Lots of excellent wine. A big buffet. We wait for one or two more answers. No, Brazilian food in Rio. Oh, I'm getting hungry now. Okay, thank you very much for that input. As we can see, traveling is not only for business purposes, but also for culinary aspects very important. Now let's get back to the topic of climate-friendly business mobility. As I told you, the background why we are doing this and why I dealt with the topic of business mobility is that not only efficient research facilities like buildings or laboratories are important, as some of you may have heard in session 2, but also climate-friendly meetings and conferences and events are an urgent topic because nowadays in many places all over the world, many events are taking place today. And virtual meetings like this one are a very good alternative, but they are not always possible. Uh, Especially when practice elements are essential or products are presented and where you need to show the customer the present the product so they can taste it or feel it or touch it or look at it in detail. And team building seminars, of course, are another thing where it is not very uh, sensible if the team members are spread over the world and the team process will not be easy. So virtual meetings are not always possible. Because of this, the planning of the venue and the arrival of participants is an important topic, and we will look at it a little bit closer. And I think Sebastian is going to place a poll now. Yeah, thank you very much. I would like you to answer the question number of business trips in 2012. Please click on the number that's suitable for you. Okay, we see 1 to 5 participants, 1 to 5. That's the most clicked answer. Some of you are even more often on business trips. Okay, so we see business mobility is still a big topic, independent from virtual meetings like this. Okay, so there will be another poll, and I would like to ask you the number of continental business flights in 2012. It's not just the business trips, it's the business flights. Okay, there are 2 participants who did no business flight, but at least 1 business trip. And most of you did 1 to 5 flights as well as business trips. Okay, thank you very much for this poll, for the answers. Now we will switch back to the slide. Thank you very much. Why is mobility, etc., an important topic if it comes to climate change? As you can see on this slide, the development of greenhouse gas emissions in the EU 27 by sector in the years 1990 till 2006. And what we can clearly see is that traffic is the only sector which is increasing over the time by about 27-28%. Even industry, households, or service is decreasing if it comes to greenhouse gas emissions. And the conclusion of this slide is that traffic is a very important sector, and therefore there are many there's a high potential for changing actions if it comes to the sector traffic and greenhouse gas emissions. As I told you before, we have a choice. What does this mean? Um, there are many possibilities of traveling in Europe. Uh, it's the car, plane, train, or maybe coaches. And these different means of transport have a different impact on the climate and on climate change. What you can see on this slide is CO2 emissions in gram per person kilometer, depending on the mean of transport. In column 1, in the first bar, you can see a diesel car. So when you're driving from Vienna to Berlin in a diesel car, you emit about 240 gram per person kilometer. If you have your colleague or your wife next to you, the number of emissions is halved to about 100 grams per person kilometer. Uh, Aircrafts depend on the length of the travel and emit about 100 to 150 grams per kilometer. The important thing about this slide is the right side of the bars, where you can see that the train, independent if it's a conventional train or high, emit very much less emissions than diesel cars or aircraft. So besides coaches, trains are the most climate-friendly way of traveling. And that's the reason why I looked at trains in detail and especially at night trains, because for business mobility, it's important to be at the venue of your business event in the morning to attend to the meeting. So I look in detail at night trains. That's very theoretical. Now I'm going to give you an example and specific example of the different emissions. So I'm going to share my screen with you now. Okay, so there is a website called ecopassenger.com. It's a very easy tool where you can look up your travel. You just choose your route, let's say from Vienna to Frankfurt, because one of you ate a very good dinner there. Then I choose my route, and okay, this city. Okay, what we can see here now is the different means of transport: train, car, and plane. If it comes to carbon dioxide, but you can also see energy resource consumption in this chart, and as well as particulate matter or nitrogen oxide. So compare for your specific traveling, you compare different means of transport. What you can do as well is change your settings. This means that if you're driving by car and it's not 1.5 passengers, but for example 4 passengers, you can adapt the settings and show again the emissions per person kilometer, and we can see here the carbon dioxide for cars is getting lower because now 4 people are riding in this car. So this tool gives you a short overview and a very possibility to look at your greenhouse gas emissions for travel. Okay, now I'm going back to my presentation. Wait a second. Okay, here we are. Now I'm going to ask you some questions, and Sebastian will be kind and tell our participants what we want to know from them.
Yes, of course. So we thought it would be very important to get your views as quick as possible, also in this session. And now, the first question that we have to everyone here in the virtual room is very much focused on the institution, organization where you work, and also the regulations there. So the question would be, to what extent are actually climate and environmental criteria taken into account in the travel plan in your organization? And that would be then the second question, what criteria or what other criteria are considered most important for travel planning in your institutions, and it might perhaps also overrule environmental criteria. So if you could share that in the chat, we could start a discussion on that. So not surprisingly, the cost factor is very ranked very high in the institutions. So talking about time, Inga, perhaps you also would like to switch on your microphone. I think. Hi. Excellent. Oh, there's a Europe map in your bag.
Yes.
Is that for planning your business trips?
Sometimes, yes. It's also, for some reason, my picture is reversed, so I don't know why that is. No, it's just for me to make sure that I have my geography right at times.
You were now bringing up this the time issue, of course.
Yes.
How do you calculate time? Because we all know there are times where you have to wait at the airport, times of where you can work, where you can work during the journey. Is there so how do you calculate the time? What do you count in?
Me personally, I calculate door to door, and that's probably why I do actually a lot of train travel, because I find it so much more convenient, because you can do so much more on the train. And I'm from London, so we have a lot of train stations which give us immediate access to the two places where I have to go all the time, which is Brussels and Edinburgh in Scotland. And so for me, I find train travel much more convenient because I get so much more done. But I find that a lot of colleagues think planes are quicker because it's just 2 hours. It's just 2 hours to fly to Brussels, when in reality it's 6 hours, considering getting to the airport, having to take taxis, having to deal with the underground and all that. So I think I can definitely see a lack of awareness with a lot of my colleagues about how much time you actually spend not doing anything when you travel on a plane.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and because that's now interesting. What degrees of freedom you and also everyone here has in order to decide what is the most accurate way of traveling. So you are talking about the time, and there seem to be some differences how you personally calculate time compared to your colleagues. But also, what, if I may take up what Jan said, because Jan was saying that the only criterion, unfortunately, is cost. So I hear some regret there. So perhaps also, Jan, it would be interesting to know what degrees of freedom you have. So whether your institution says, no, sorry, you have to take the cheapest based on short-term costs, the cheapest way of traveling, or do you also have some freedom to decide otherwise? Could you share that with us, either through the chat or, if you like, through the microphone? and of course everybody else as well, because I think that's also an important issue, how free we are in our decision making. Okay, so I understand, Jan, that you actually have some the opportunity also to choose also not only the cheapest cheapest mode of traveling, but also you can pick an alternative there. Okay, excellent. So also the time issue and the question how you calculate time seems to be important at Jan's organization as well. And our friends in South Austria, they are completely free to do whatever they like. Congratulations. Good, thank you very much. Manuel, I would just hand the floor over to you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. Next slide shows some statistics again. That's how it seems to be. This means now I'm going to tell you short and simply the findings, the results of my master thesis and the research I did. As I told you before, I looked at night trains in detail because the topic is business mobility, and there are some advantages and disadvantages for business travelers if you use the night train. And one of the big advantages is that you overcome a great distance while sleeping in a bed. And this is an advantage that you can't have when you're driving the car or something. That would not be a good idea. And additionally to this, you save an overnight stay in a hotel or even overnight stays if you're traveling times with a night train. And usually train stations are located near the city center, and many of the conference venues are as well. So the distance between the station and the conference venue is normally very short. And if it comes to door-to-door connections, this is a very important factor. Of course, there are disadvantages too. One of them is the long duration and number of switchovers. Sometimes you have to take a train that that's no direct connection, so there are one or even more switchovers where you have to pack your stuff, leave the train, change platform, and get on the next train. Sometimes in not more than 10 minutes. So this can be a disadvantage. And of course, there are comfort aspects that we have to consider. I said you can sleep in a bed, but I know that the bed in the night train is not as comfortable as your bed at home. So there might be some negative comfort aspects. The price is written here with a question mark because in Europe it depends on the connection if the price is lower or higher compared to other way of traveling like flying the plane or driving a car. But of course there are environmental aspects that we have to consider and that I see as advantages for business travelers. It's the good convenience you have when you're traveling by train, and maybe there's an inspiration of others for a climate-friendly way of traveling. Who's responsible for the connections in Europe? There are many players involved. On the one hand, there are political players, DG Energy and Transport, the European Commission, and especially in Austria, it's the Federal Ministry for Transport, Innovation and Technology. On the other hand, there are infrastructure and providers like the UIC, the International Union of Railways, on an international base, and on a more local base, it's the national railroad companies like the ÖBB in Austria, Deutsche Bahn in Germany, or the SNCF in France. The FTE and RNE are responsible for the coordination of the schedule which changes every year. At the beginning of December, new connections are created. Some old connections will not exist anymore. And this is because of the results of the meetings from Train Europe and Rail Europe. Beside them, there's the European Railway Agency, which is responsible for safety aspects like consistent signals in different countries in Europe. And of course, there are some lobbying organizations like the European Passenger Platform or Bahn here in Austria. And of course, R&D institutions are involved as well. On the next slide, we can see what these players did in the last year concerning the connections in Europe. And as you can see on the clip art, the connections in Europe are getting worse. I'll give you an example. I've looked at the number of changeovers to get to Brussels from various cities in Europe, like Paris, Vienna, Berlin, or Rome. And you can see in the year 1987 or up to the year 2000, there were many direct connections to get to Brussels. And since the 2005, it's not possible anymore to travel by train directly from Vienna to Brussels. And if you live in Rome or next to Rome, it's even getting worse. So we can see that direct connections in a broad way are possible because it existed in the past, and yeah, maybe they will be there in the future again. I see, Alexis, you asked about the link for the lobbying organization. I can give you that later on, or maybe Sebastian will find it in the meantime, but we will get this link, of course. We talked about this before. Criteria are important for business travelers. This is the result of the survey among business travelers we made in the year 2010. Most important is the duration of the journey, followed by direct connections. The cost aspect is presented here as well, a little more flexible, because the response we got is that costs in business traveling are not so important as when traveling for holidays or in private purpose. For safety reasons, comfort aspects, the distance of the station and the venue are also decision criteria that play an important role for the decision which mode of transport you can choose. On this slide, we can see the connection between rail journey time and rail market share. And you can see there's a direct connection. The longer the rail journey time, the lower the market share. If you look at this connection, Frankfurt to Cologne lasts about 1 hour and maybe 10 minutes, and the rail market share is high above 95%. On the contrary, the connection Madrid-Barcelona, which lasts about 4 hours and maybe 50 minutes, the rail market share is just 10 or 11%. So there is a direct connection between these two factors. And before we come to the next slide, I would like to answer another poll. I would like you to click. We'll be there in a second.
Yeah. May I ask a question on the slide?
Yep.
It's very interesting. Because you were talking about the connection Madrid-Barcelona in Spain, so where the pointer is just pointing, and there has been a change between 2002 and 2004, obviously, and a big improvement. So by 2 hours, this train connections has been reduced. So it used to be 7, now it's less than 5, but the market share didn't change at all, or a bit, just a tiny bit.
3% maybe.
So do you have any idea why that is? Is there some kind of a critical, or could you read from this figure some critical timing? So a maximum travel time until that the market share will drop?
Yeah, maybe not a maximum travel time. The reason be that in the 3 years the train was still not the way of traveling in 2002. The connection improved about 2 hours, but maybe people still don't think about taking the train because of bad connection, and they maybe don't know there is a better, or the other possibility is that 5 hours are still too long, which I don't think that this is the case, because you can see here journey times about 1.5 hours. Paris, Marseille, with a market share high above 40%. Maybe it's the image of the train in Spain, maybe. But if someone of you have another idea why this might be as it is, you can post it in the chat. I will be very thankful for that.
Well, Inga, what about this the connection London-Edinburgh, which is also below now the pointer? That stayed more or less the same, but the market share dropped considerably in these 5 years. What happened?
True, actually. Oh, well, what happened is privatization of the railway system, and I think that's probably there used to be a train connection called the Flying Scotsman, which was a very fast daylight train, which I think was abolished, and now the day train stops at every possible stop and takes a lot longer. I think it used to take about 4 hours, and now it takes nearly 7. I think that's probably what happened there. Which is very annoying, because now, as I also posted in the chat, now most people just fly, because within the country you don't need to go through security, so it's much easier to get to the plane. You don't need to spend so much time at the airport, and so time-wise, flight Edinburgh probably is 4 hours to door, and when the train then is 7 hours, people will unfortunately fly.
Okay, Alexis just raised his hand with some expertise from Barcelona.
Yeah, exactly. Hello. Well, I put in the chat that in Spain these Puente Aéreos were so popular for decades.
Could you speak up a bit, please, Alexis?
Yes. Yeah. But regardless of this airlift, I see this graphic between, showing the connection Madrid-Barcelona 2002-2005. I just say that I can remember that the high-speed train connection, which has been exploding the last years in Spain, the connection Madrid-Barcelona was just on 2007 or 2008. It was opened. So I can understand why still in 2005 this market share hasn't dropped.
Okay.
But I can imagine, I have no idea actually, but I can imagine that since 2008 the market share of this train high-speed train connection has increased. But I don't know in which measure, to what extent.
So certainly there are also, I mean, that Manuel, you are the expert. What I would assume is there are certainly issues of what are alternatives and also cultural issues. Like I remember from my time living in Spain that it was very common to travel long distances by bus, whereas it wasn't so common to take the train. So these things might still also continue. So we have now opened a poll about a night journey. So what how much time you would be willing to travel during the night.
Okay, that's very interesting. 3 of you will travel more than 18 hours. 12 hours, 14, 16.
And we open another poll just to keep the overview. And this is about traveling during the day. Sorry, yeah, we got the results.
You can clearly see that during the day, the maximum hours are less, about 8 hours compared to 12 to 16 hours during the night. Okay, some of you even more than 14 hours during the day. Okay, thank you very much for your opinion. It's very interesting fact. I will tell you why.
May I just, Manuel, should I just open the third one?
Yeah, okay, got it.
Which is about the maximum of number of changes that you would accept during a journey.
With 2 changes.
Good.
Yes, thank you very much. Okay, now we
So
can
it
go.
seems just to comment on that. Also, this also relates to the other polls that we had, and you might also comment on that. And then in the chat, it seems there most people are, let's say, feeling comfortable now here with 2 changes, so not too much interruptions of the travel, and also it shouldn't be too long. But there are also participants here that are really willing to take a considerable effort in order to travel by train, and I think that's important to see. There are more or less 2 groups, so perhaps now 3. There's also one person would like to travel, wants to travel very comfortable without changes. But mostly most people are somewhere with 2 changes, which I think is a normal. Would be a normal connection, but there's also, of course, a group of people that is willing to invest more energy and effort in order to take the train.
And again, as you said, it depends on the time you have to wait in train connections. It's absolutely true. It's a big difference if you have to wait 1 hour or just a quarter of an hour or something else. So there are many factors that influence this decision. I tried to categorize the connectivity depending on factors like duration, as we just asked you, maximum number of changes, or departure times and arrival times. And we found 4 categories. First one is called convenient, which lasts less than 12 hours. That's the classical direct connections. Maximum number of changes 0. And a little bit longer, namely not more than 15 hours, the acceptable connection, where at least 1 change is accepted. The committed connection lasts up to 18 hours, and 1 to 3 changes are accepted. And some of you are in the voluntary connection, but there are even more than 3 changes and a duration of about more than 18 hours. So that's the categories we found during the research, and we tried to make a map of Europe where we make the assumption that there is an event at Brussels, and in the blue boxes, these are the cities that are reachable via a convenient connection. Green are acceptable, as shown before. Yellow is a committed connection, and for all the red cities, you have to travel more than 18 hours or take more than 3 changeovers. We did also a interpolation of the results of the train connect. What came out are pictures like this. The assumption this picture is that there is an event at Lisbon, and as you can see, if you do not live in Madrid, getting there per train is just possible if you travel more than 18 hours or accept a lot of number of changeovers. If we compare this to an event in Vienna, we can see that there are some cities that are in a convenient distance, or even more, like Paris, in an acceptable distance. As shown before, if the event takes place in Brussels, there are also nearly connected cities like London, Amsterdam, and Paris, blue, which means convenient connection. Now it's your turn again, because I want you to tell us the truth. Did we make the right assumptions? What we do change? And therefore, I would like to ask Sebastian to tell you what we want to do next.
Yeah, thank you, Manuel. And well, the slide tells us what this is about. So this, we thought we would like now ask you a real world question. So a question that is based on your actual experience. So what we would like to ask you is to consider your most recent international business trip, or in case you're just at the moment planning one, then take this one. So within a distance of 500 to 1500 kilometers, or 300 to 900 miles, if you want. So that means in a continental scale. And so if you have this business trip in mind, so it would be interesting if you could share in the chat. So which mode of transport did you choose for that? And be honest. So it's not about showing how green we all are, but it's about learning why we take decisions how we as we take them. So so what was the trip? What was the distance? And also, what was the main important factor why you chose this mode of transport? Why you took the train? Why you took the plane? Why you took the car or took the bike? So there's also an intercontinental flight from US to Vienna. So quite some train travel. But what we also learn now from the US is that it seems to be quite difficult to take the train for many connections, even though this Jacob would like to, but it depends also on the system and on the offers that you have. And there's a video conference to Baltimore. Excellent. And Stuart also introduces a criterion that is also very important, which is the joy, whether you enjoy the way you're traveling. So it seems to be a quite funny trip travel from South England to Scotland. Okay, thank you very much. And please also feel free to respond to what the others are saying. I think we have, I think in the chat there are many interesting criteria that show that not only time and money are important, but also other criteria like personal preferences and whether you enjoy this way of traveling or not. Thank you very much. So Manuel, I hand over to you. And Manuel, perhaps also in my role as facilitator, let me remind you that we have 5 minutes left. So I would suggest that that you choose one subject that you would like to draw attention to, and then we could also take the last minutes perhaps to open up for a general discussion in the chat or also live.
Thank you very much, Sebastian. Can you hear me? Because I got kicked out and I'm not a host anymore. I can talk to you, but I cannot click on the slides anymore.
That's too bad. You will be a host soon. Now you're a host.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, because we don't have a lot of time, I would like to tell you something about the focus group we made because we wanted to find out solutions, how we can change the system, how we can improve train traveling, and I will go through this a little bit faster. We found out that maybe the adaptation of priorities, which means that night trains are ranked before freight trains and regular services.
We can't hear you, Manuel. You have to switch on your microphone. So this is what can happen. It seems that the presenter has been kicked out. Perhaps the NSA was too interested in what we're doing here. So, but basically, what Manuel wanted to tell us is the results of his inquiry. So how train traveling can be improved. So how more people can motivate to take the train, and this is based on an inquiry that he did with my colleagues from the JPI Climate, this European Alliance of Research Funders. So he made interviews with I think 20 or 30 of my colleagues on their experiences, and one issue was that so far, if you look at the night trains, they are at least in the European system, they are ranked really low in the priority. So if you have a night train on the road and there's a freight train coming, then the night train has to wait, which causes delay, and also, let's say, shows the general priority that this mode of traveling enjoys in the European railway system. So this could be changed. High-speed trains, of course, are very much also increase the high-speed train system. There's also a European strategy on that, and just just to look at the last issues is about the question whether you can also introduce CO2 limits for funded events, and this is a question that we have in JPI Climate, and this would also be an interesting question to all of you, and I guess there are also researchers in the room. So whether you would be willing to accept a CO2 limit of a research project or a carbon limit that you could then spend and also allocate in the project. We're still discussing that, and there are also difficulties of calculating that. But this, of course, would be a very, say, transparent way of reducing and also limiting the carbon footprint of a research project. But I think there are still lots of steps to be done, especially if we think about an easy calculation, easy systematics to assess the carbon footprint of research projects, and also the contributions of travel. So let's see what we see in the chat. So there's just going through that. I see there are train lovers there, and but geographical issues are of course important, and this might be not too easy to solve, especially if you're living on islands. And in Europe, this also, for example, applies to islands like Malta or Cyprus, which are also along the European partners, but where you cannot that easy expect them to take the train to come over the mainland. And same holds true for Ireland. And I guess this true. I guess this problem will also be there in other parts of the world. So many things to be done, and we will have now also a session that will picking this up this issue, session number 9, leading by example, developing a travel strategy consistent with our research findings. And this is Stuart and Adam from Cardiff University speaking. Stuart is already there. Stuart?
Hello, can you hear me?
We can all hear you. Thank you very much. So before I hand over, let me also thank Manuel, who is now again in our participants list, but can't unfortunately wave his hand because somehow his internet connection seems to have closed down. And so also thank you very much for attending this session. And if you have any comments to make, any feedback, feel free. And Manuel and myself, we will hang out also now in the lounge a bit, but then also, of course, return very quick to Stuart's and Adam's session.
Okay, thank you, Sebastian. I'm back now and I can wave my hands. Hopefully you can see me. And yeah, thank you very much for the very interesting the chat and via the microphone. Thank you very much.